deserve better. I support and agree with what my honourable friend says. I would just say one thing, Mr. Speaker. It is the responsibility of the Mayor of Greater Manchester to ensure that the police force acts, not a point that I hope will be taken up on the benches opposite, to ensure that the police force acts swiftly and decisively to address the failures that his constituents are currently finding.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to join colleagues in paying tribute to the Honourable Member for Southend-on-Sea. He was a good friend and an esteemed parliamentarian. I also wish to pay tribute to the Right Honourable Member for Old Baxley and Sidcup. He served this House and country assiduously and will be missed by members across the House. Mr. Speaker, heating bills, food shocks, and fuel costs are all rising at a staggering speed. This winter, millions of families on universal credit will be forced to choose between eating or heating. Given the crisis in living costs we are now facing, will the Prime Minister reconsider his scrapping of the universal credit uplift and reinstate?
Confederation has warned there could be a winter crisis unless measures such as wearing face masks are reintroduced. The rate at which prices rise slowed slightly last month despite increasing fuel and transport costs. The Office for National Statistics says inflation, as measured by the Consumer Prices Index, fell slightly in September to 3.1%. The average house price in the UK in August was £25,000 higher than a year earlier. That's an increase of more than 10%. The biggest rises were in Scotland and North East England. And the Queen has cancelled a trip to Northern Ireland today. Buckingham Palace says she's reluctantly accepted medical advice to rest for the next few days. It's not thought to be connected to coronavirus.
I'll get more on that with an update with our role correspondent Daniela in a short while. Nick, thanks very much for that. Della Lloyd, the news this morning has been all about Steve Bruce and Newcastle.
It has certainly, Naga, and perhaps inevitable news as well. Steve Bruce, though, has admitted that the Newcastle job could be his last, but he's learnt never to say never. He's left St James's Park today by mutual consent, 13 days after a Saudi-based consortium took over the club. Bruce, though, has told The Telegraph, "I think this might be my last job. It's not just about me. It's taken its toll on my whole family." Well, Graham Jones will take temporary charge of Newcastle for Saturday's away match at Crystal Palace. Manchester City say they're shocked and saddened to hear reports of an attack on one of their supporters following the Champions League game in Bruges last night. The Belgian-based fan is in hospital. 5 people have been arrested. City say they're working with Club Bruges as well as the Belgian and Greater Manchester Police to establish more information. The 2-time Super Bowl champion and 3-time Pro Bowl safety Malcolm Jenkins has revealed he has invested in Burnley Football Club. The New Orleans Saints player has a minority stake as part of the ALK Capital Investment Group that took over the club last December. And the Netherlands have set Namibia 165 to win their match at the T20 World Cup. That one's on right now. You can listen over on 5 Live Sports Extra. That's the latest from BBC Sport.
On BBC Two.
January 6th started off pretty much like any other day, but it wasn't until I started listening to the speeches
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen.
that I felt that day was going to be a bad day. I just happened to go over there right when they started to surge.
It just kept building.
And then they started banging our door.
There's people in the Senate chambers. And that's when I noticed the shamans.
4 hours at the Capitol. Eyewitness accounts of the January 6th riot. Tonight at 9 on BBC Two and iPlayer.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
Voice of the UK.
Naga Manchetti. Listen live, pause, rewind, and discover with the BBC Sounds app. Good afternoon to you. Time now is 12:42. You would have heard in the last hour or so that news that the Queen has cancelled a visit to Northern Ireland. This is on medical advice. Let's get more details from our royal correspondent, Daniela Ralph. Daniela, as I said, this news just came out in the last hour or so.
Yes, that's right. And I sort of feel that we should start anything to do with the Queen at the moment by stressing, she is 95 years old, and we all need to sort of remember that when we talk about her at the moment. And Buckingham Palace are also really keen not to cause any alarm and to stress that she isn't unwell, but that she's sort of tired and has reluctantly, an important word in the statement they've released, reluctantly accepted medical advice from her doctors that she needs to rest for a few days. She's had a really busy schedule over the past couple of weeks since returning from her summer break in Balmoral. We saw her just last night at Windsor Castle at a big global investment meeting and a social event there, talking to Bill Gates and all sorts of tech entrepreneurs and billionaires. And actually last week, just exactly a week ago, I was at Westminster Abbey with her and got a chance to sort of see her up close. And I have to say, she's looking maybe a little frailer and a little older, but she's looking really well, really engaged. It was the first time we'd actually seen her using a walking stick.
Yes,
so
and that caused some comments.
Yeah,
didn't it?
it
But
did.
again, she is 95 years old.
That's the thing to remember, isn't it? She did need a stick. We haven't seen that before, and clearly it was felt that she needed that extra little bit of support. On that day, she also actually came in a different entrance at Westminster Abbey. She normally comes in the Great West Door, but they didn't want her to make that long walk down to her seat, so she came in a side entrance. Again, we were told that was for her own comfort, and I think, at 95, few would deny her the odd little bits of extra comfort to make sure that she can still carry on appearing in public, which is what she'll want to be doing.
And of course, Daniela, we were just talking today, weren't we? It was with great kind of amusement and a wry smile that she turned down, was it the award for Oldie of the Year or something, and she just said a very lovely letter had been written back to the organisers of this, just saying you're as old as you feel, and we should emphasise again though that this is with great reluctance, and it's not COVID related, we understand as well, but it's great reluctance that the Queen is taking this rest.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of read a little bit of the mood music here as well, in that we saw her out and about last night, exactly as you say. She wrote that quite funny letter rejecting the award from the oldies, saying you're only as young as you feel, and therefore she rules herself out because she doesn't feel old enough to accept the award. The language of the statement today: disappointment, reluctantly accepting doctors' advice. She wants to be out and about. She wants to carry on doing public engagements. She wants to meet people, when she can, and not be sort of stuck behind Zoom engagements and not getting out and about. But having said all of that, I think it is a little warning, isn't it? Using the walking stick last week, she's now tired after a run of engagements, and I think her private office will want to make sure going forward that they carefully manage her schedule, and they do want her, and say the plan is for this still to carry on, to attend a number of engagements planned for her during COP, the climate conference in Glasgow. So they'll be mindful that they want her to be part of that big event. But it is a little warning that at 95 her schedule is going to have to be managed carefully.
Again though, Daniela, you'll be aware of this. We had that video footage, didn't we? It was filmed on a phone, I think. It's someone at a discussion she was having with, I think, a lady in waiting, about COP, and her comments about is anything getting done.
That's right, and who exactly is going to attend? That was the thing she was saying, that people weren't committing. She was talking to the Duchess of Cornwall as well, Camilla, in part of that conversation. But it gives you a sense, doesn't it, Naga, of her level of engagement, of interest in things. She wants to be involved in COP. She wants to be there, sort of meeting people and finding out what's going on. And in many ways, by giving her a few days rest now, cancelling what would have been a pretty sort of rigorous trip to Northern Ireland for a couple of days, I think they're sort of protecting her in the hope that she can carry on with those COP engagements.
Okay, Daniela, thanks very much for bringing us up to date. Daniela Ralph, our royal correspondent. It is 12:46. Still got a few more things to get to because there's legal encampments, travellers at illegal encampments, they could be fined £2,500, jailed or jailed for 3 months, or both, under new plans that have been announced by the Home Secretary, Priti Patel. Now, these proposals will affect England and Wales, and they're part of the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Bill, which you would have heard much about. Earlier, we got the view of Jake Bowers, who is the co-chair of Drive to Survive. This is a traveller-led charity group set up to fight this bill. And he says that through this bill, the government is unfairly attacking the whole traveller community.
This isn't a massive problem. We're probably talking about 2,000 caravans total. So maybe if we say there's 4 or 5 people in each caravan in that family, maybe we're talking about 10,000 people. Now, 5 years ago, the Commission for Racial Equality estimated that in order to resolve this issue, that we would need 1 square mile of land in Britain, so that every gypsy or traveller that was still nomadic had somewhere to stop. Now, our islands are 66,000 square miles. But what we see coming out of the Tory party is not any genuine attempt to resolve this issue, but all stick and no carrot. The law already is very, very strong in terms of attacking antisocial behaviour, no matter what form that takes. We've got public order legislation, we've got antisocial behaviour legislation. This isn't, let's be clear, about resolving an issue. It's about performative prejudice from the Tory party to distract from the fact that they've mismanaged a pandemic and they've mismanaged Brexit.
So that was Jake Bowers, who is the co-chair of Drive to Survive. This is a charity which has been set up, led by travellers to set up to fight this bill. Lots of you getting in touch, as I mentioned earlier. Marianne in Lincolnshire is one of those. Marianne, hello.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, they're fine.
Now, you were listening to the conversation a little earlier, I understand, and it prompted you to get in touch. Why?
Well, because about 5 or 6 years ago, on a piece of land that my husband's company owned at the time, about 1.5 acres worth of land, which was secured with lovely expensive fencing and big gates at a cost of £20,000 to us. And I remember the amount because we'd only just had the work done after years of it being open. And one evening, about 40 traveller families decided to go onto the land, use bolt croppers to get onto it, pulled on with their vehicles. I mean, they were only there a few days, but we had to go through a court procedure to remove them. However, the police, they couldn't do a thing about it, even though my husband said, well, isn't it breaking and entering? I don't know whether it was or it wasn't, but they certainly didn't do anything about it.
So it wasn't trespassing or damage to property?
There was nothing. No. I mean, obviously at the end of the week, the place was a mess. But so in that instance, to start with, they couldn't do a thing about it. We had to go through a court procedure, and the plot of land, although it looked like one plot, in actual fact was 2 addresses, which sounds bizarre, but it was 2 potential rental plots for us for companies. So when we went to the court, we had to have a notice put on both separate plots, which required my husband, the solicitor, and the traveller liaison officer from the council to drive on to the centre of the land so my husband could plant these, a stick with the notification on it. No policeman came with us.
So were they still there?
Oh, yes, they were. I mean, as an aside, at the time, my husband did have a very old transit van, which, to be honest, travellers would have been ashamed of. And he was wearing very scruffy work clothes. I think they thought it was Uncle Festus come to visit. And that was the only way they got onto the site.
How long did it take for them to be...
They were gone within about 5 or 6 days. But by then, it had cost us about £3,000 in court fees. We were on an industrial estate, lots of other small companies round and about, smaller than ourselves, including just round the corner, the sandwich shop, the little post office and what have you. And all these shops, well, not the shops couldn't afford the extra stuff, but a lot of the other companies needed to get in extra security for those extra few nights to try, keep an eye on their property, which costs a lot for small companies. The people in the shop round the corner, you know, where the lads used to go and get the sandwiches and the like and the crisps, you know, the girls behind the counter aren't going to stop the travellers going in who say, oh yeah, I want that packet of, well, not cigarettes, but those sweets, those crisps, those whatever. Not much to you and I financially, but at the end of a week for a small shop, a lot of difference.
You mean they were stealing them?
Oh yeah, they were stealing. They were all just, oh yeah, I want that sort of thing. And I say, they just took what they wanted.
So
and things went missing from other property, from other businesses along the road as well near us. But and we just have a big clear up to do at the end of the week.
So I'm assuming, from your experience, you welcome this amendment to this police bill.
It's something, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's slightly laughable that the spokesman saying, you know, that it's attacking them. You should look after wherever you are. And you made the point to them. You made the point to him that, or the MP did, that if they were just if they'd been on our acre of land, you know, as long as they haven't broken in, but if they'd been on our acre of land and hadn't made a complete mess of the place and hadn't been sort of terrorising local businesses and things, you'd have maybe taken, you know, a slightly gentler view.
Marianne, I'm going to go. No, please don't say sorry. Thank you for telling me your experiences. Thank you for getting in touch. Thank you to everyone who's been in touch today regarding this. Is obviously something that there are some strong views about. That's Marianne in Lincolnshire. Strong views amongst Newcastle United fans as well. The manager, Steve Bruce, has left today. That was announced today. Probably not completely unexpected. Let's talk to former Newcastle defender Stephen Taylor. Stephen, afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
Tell me, do you think that kind of there's quite a lot of hard feeling towards Steve Bruce? Is that fair?
I think it's been difficult for all the managers who've had obviously worked underneath Mike Ashley over the years. You know, like now you've got the new ownership coming in, and it was inevitable it's going to happen with a new era and a new start. So for me, it's obviously been tough because then you've got to look going back all the years of the managers and even speaking to a lot of the managers over the years, how their hands were tied. You know, they weren't allowed to bring their players in. The upstairs, the hierarchy, they were the ones who were kind of controlling everything that was going on. You know, there's previous managers who I've played under who, you know, didn't want to play certain players and they got told to play these players, and that's how it was at the football club at the time. And, you know, it has been difficult. And, it's very difficult to obviously work under Mike Ashley.
He was a boyhood fan of the club, just like you. But, you know, obviously that passion for it didn't really ever kind of chime with the fans.
Yeah, I think Newcastle fans, obviously, they lost their patience a lot with the results that have been going on, and you're based on, obviously, your results. It was a very difficult time for him. I think, you know, winning games, you know, the fans, especially